If a woman is developing feelings for you, she will say these 7 things, psychology tricks. The deepest feelings are often revealed not by grand confessions, but by the quiet choices we make with our words. If a woman is starting to develop real feelings for you, she usually won't announce it right away. Instead, her emotions slip out naturally through the way she talks to you. Here's something many men don't realize. Attraction often shows up in language long before it shows up in actions. Words are not just tools for conversation. They're mirrors of emotion, and when a woman's feelings begin to deepen, her speech suddenly changes in ways she may not even be aware of. Psychology shows that emotional attachment is frequently expressed through small verbal patterns, tone phrasing, and the kinds of things someone chooses to say. In fact, relationship research by John Gottman has shown that the language people use can strongly predict emotional investment and long-term connection. When a woman is falling for you, her words start to carry more meaning. She may sound more personal, more emotionally open, or more curious about your inner world. These aren't accidents, they're signals. And here's the key point. Women often reveal their feelings long before they confess them. If you're asking yourself, does she feel something for me? The answer is usually already there, hidden in plain sight within her words. In this video, you'll learn the 7 specific things women tend to say when their emotions are growing stronger. These phrases aren't random. They follow clear psychological patterns that point to genuine attraction and emotional interest. Make sure you stay until the end, because the final phrase is the strongest indicator of all, the one that almost always confirms she's truly into you. 1. I feel like I've known you forever. When a woman looks at you and says, I feel like I've known you forever, don't dismiss it as casual chatter. Don't laugh it off. Don't underestimate it. Because that sentence carries weight far beyond the words themselves. And for a man between 35 and 70 who has lived enough life to recognize patterns, this is one of those moments that deserves your full attention. What she is really revealing is not a memory, but a feeling, not a timeline, but a sense of emotional recognition that feels natural, calm, and deeply familiar. This is where female psychology quietly does its most powerful work. She is telling you that with you, her guard is down. Her nervous system is relaxed, and her mind feels at home. And psychology tricks aside, this sense of forever doesn't come from fantasy. It comes from emotional safety, from conversations that flow without effort, from moments where she feels heard rather than analyzed, from your ability to stay present without trying to impress. Emotional familiarity is not about time spent. It's about how safe someone feels being themselves around you. Research in female psychology consistently shows that women often connect through emotional resonance. First, meaning that when she senses that you understand her rhythms, her humor, her silences, and her values, her mind shortcuts the calendar and says, this feels known. That feeling is powerful because the human brain is wired to trust what feels familiar. That is why Dr. John Gottman emphasizes emotional safety as a cornerstone of attraction. Not chemistry alone, not looks alone, but the sense that with you, she doesn't have to perform. When she says she feels like she's known you forever, she's associating you with calm warmth and reliability, all of which quietly fuel romantic interest, without drama. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about the rare people you've met where conversation felt easy, where silence wasn't awkward, where you didn't feel the need to explain yourself. That's the same experience she's having now, and that's why this sentence is not random. It's a signal, a subtle confession that her subconscious has already placed you in a meaningful role, even if consciously she hasn't labeled it yet. That's exactly why how you respond matters more than you think. Brushing it off with a joke that shuts it down or changing the subject sends the wrong message while leaning into it. With calm confidence reinforces the emotional bridge she's already building. Don't overreact. Don't interrogate the feeling. Don't rush it into something heavy. Instead, be present, be warm, be playful. A light, thoughtful response, like, that's interesting. Maybe we just speak the same language, or a gentle tease like, so you're saying, we skipped the awkward phase, keeps the moment alive without pressure. A sincere reply, such as I get, that it feels natural. Talking to you validates her experience and deepens the connection. This is where many men miss the opportunity, because they think attraction must always be loud or obvious, when in reality, some of the strongest signs come quietly, wrapped in comfort and familiarity. This is also where understanding how to fall in love becomes less about chasing and more about allowing. Love often grows in spaces where effort feels minimal and presence feels meaningful from a psychological perspective. Familiarity creates trust. Trust creates openness. Openness creates intimacy. That sequence is not accidental. It's deeply human when she verbalizes that sense of knowing you forever. She's letting you peek behind the curtain of her emotional world. You must understand that this is not about soulmates or destiny. In a dramatic sense, it's about alignment, about shared emotional wavelengths, about feeling safe enough to imagine continuity. When you acknowledge that feeling without trying to control it, you position yourself as someone who respects emotional depth, which is incredibly attractive at any age. Don't rush to define the relationship. Don't downplay the moment out of fear. Don't assume it means nothing. Instead, recognize it for what it is. A green light, a quiet opening, an invitation to continue showing up as you are. In female psychology, consistency matters more than intensity. The man who stays steady, curious, and emotionally available often becomes the man she grows attached to without even realizing how it happened. Psychology tricks are not about manipulation. They're about awareness, about knowing when a moment carries meaning and choosing to meet it with presence rather than avoidance. When you do that, when you listen without fixing, respond without posturing, and remain grounded, you create a space where feelings naturally deepen. Comfort turns into trust. Trust turns into affection. Affection, slowly, almost effortlessly, turns into something more. Be calm, be genuine, be attentive, because when a woman says she feels like she's known you forever, she's not talking about the past. She's quietly imagining the future, and whether that future grows closer depends less on clever lines and more on your ability to stay emotionally open, respectful, and real. That is ultimately the most powerful answer to how to fall in love, not through force, not through strategy alone, but through understanding patience and the quiet strength of emotional intelligence, something that both psychology tricks and lived experience point to again and again, especially when navigating the subtle, beautiful complexity of female psychology. 2. You're one of my closest friends, even if you haven't known each other long. When a woman looks at you and says you're one of my closest friends, especially when you haven't known each other very long, don't jump to conclusions. Don't tense up. Don't tell yourself a story that shuts the door too early. Pause, breathe, listen carefully. Because this sentence, when understood correctly, is not a rejection. It's a signal. It's a moment loaded with meaning. And for men between 35 and 70 who have lived, learned, and loved enough to know that human behavior is rarely simple, this is one of those moments where perspective makes all the difference. Many men hear the word friend and immediately feel a quiet alarm go off in their mind, but that reaction misses the deeper psychological truth behind what she's actually doing. When she calls you one of her closest friends early on, she's not categorizing you away. She's checking the emotional foundation. She's seeing how safe it feels to let you closer. Be clear about this. Women don't hand out emotional closeness lightly when a woman places you in her inner circle. She's revealing trust, not indifference. That is important. That is meaningful. That is step 1. Attraction, especially lasting attraction, rarely begins with physical intensity alone. It begins with emotional security. Female psychology shows us again and again that before desire deepens, trust must settle in. First, this is why a high-value man doesn't panic when emotions enter the conversation. He understands them. He respects them. He knows they're part of the process. Don't rush to label the moment. Don't rush to defend your ego. Be grounded. Be calm. Be present. Think about what she's really saying beneath the words. When she tells you you're one of her closest friends, She's saying, I feel safe here. She's saying, I don't have to hide. She's saying, you listen. And that matters more than most men realize. Women are naturally drawn to men who make them feel emotionally understood before anything else. That sense of being emotionally held is what allows attraction to grow without fear. If she's opening up about her past, sharing her doubts, laughing freely, or trusting you with parts of her story, she doesn't share with just anyone that's not casual. That's investment. Emotional. Investment always comes before romantic investment. Always. Now imagine the moment clearly. She smiles, maybe shrugs a little and says, I feel like I can tell you anything. You're one of my closest friends. That's not her closing a door. That's her opening one and waiting to see if you walk through it with confidence or trip over your own assumptions. Your response here matters. Don't deflate. Don't get awkward. Don't act like you've lost ground. You haven't. In fact, you're standing on solid ground. You must respond in a way that shows maturity, emotional intelligence, and quiet certainty. This is where masculine energy shows itself, not through force, but through calm assurance, a thoughtful response. Like, I appreciate that. I think the best connections are built on trust, does something powerful. It doesn't reject her statement. It doesn't cling to it either. It reframes it. It suddenly introduces the idea that closeness and attraction are not opposites but partners. That's how you attract women without pressure. That's how a high-value man moves. He doesn't rush the moment he shapes it gently. He understands that emotional safety is not the enemy of attraction. It's the doorway to it. Don't underestimate how important this stage is. Many men sabotage potential relationships by reacting emotionally instead of intentionally. They hear friend and either withdraw or overcompensate. Both responses create distance. What you want instead is alignment. You want her to feel that her trust was placed in the right person, that you're steady, that you don't need to rush labels or outcomes to feel confident in yourself. Confidence is quiet. Confidence is patient confidence, understands timing. Be honest with yourself at this stage. She's evaluating how you handle closeness. Can you stay grounded when emotions deepen? Can you remain attractive without needing to prove anything? Can you hold space without demanding more than she's ready to give? These are the questions she's asking, even if she never says them out loud. And when you answer those questions with your behavior, not your words, attraction begins to shift slowly, naturally, without force. This is where many long-lasting relationships actually begin. Not with fireworks, but with familiarity. Not with intensity, but with comfort. A man who understands how to attract women knows that attraction is not built by chasing desire, but by creating safety where desire can grow. That's masculine energy at its most refined, calm, stable present. You don't need to rush ahead. You don't need to pull away. You simply need to stay centered. Don't ignore the opportunity here. Emotional closeness is not a detour. It's the road itself. When she feels safe, she becomes curious. When she becomes curious, attraction deepens. When attraction deepens, connection follows. This is how real relationships form. This is how respect and desire meet in the same place. And this is why a high-value man doesn't fear being called a close friend early on. He understands the context. He understands the psychology. He understands himself. Be consistent, be attentive, be yourself, but the grounded version of yourself. The man who listens without fixing, the man who speaks without needing to impress, the man who is emotionally available without being emotionally dependent. That balance is powerful, that balance is rare, and that balance is exactly what allows women to move from trust to attraction at their own pace. You must remember this attraction that lasts is built, not forced. Emotional connection is the foundation, not the finish line. When she calls you one of her closest friends, she's telling you that you've already done something right. Don't undo it with fear. Don't misread it through old myths. Read it for what it is, an opening, a sign of trust, a moment to stay steady and let things evolve. This is how you attract women naturally. This is how masculine energy shows up without effort. This is how a high-value man moves through connection with clarity and calm. Be patient, be intentional, and above all, don't underestimate the power of being someone she feels safe growing closer to. If this opened your eyes, don't stay silent. Act. Men who understand emotional trust don't panic. They lead with calm confidence. So drop a comment right now and lock this mindset in. I don't fear connection. I build it like this video. Subscribe for more sharp psychology tricks and remind yourself daily when trust comes first, attraction follows. 3. You're so different from other guys I've met. When a woman looks you in the eye and says you're so different from other guys I've met, don't brush it off like it's small talk because it isn't. This is a signal, a spotlight, a clear psychological marker that you're separating yourself from the noise. And in modern life, that separation is everything. Because attention is the rarest currency. Now she's not testing you in some dramatic way. She's assessing where to place her emotional energy. And when she compares you favorably, it means you've moved from random option to serious consideration, which is exactly how attraction works when it's real. Understand what's happening under the surface. She's beginning to filter her experience through you, and that's why this line matters. Psychologists often describe this kind of mental filtering as selective perception, where the mind notices what supports a growing emotional preference and quietly ignores what doesn't. Said simply, you're becoming the reference point, and here's the rule. Don't chase the compliment, lead it, don't rush to thank her, like you're collecting approval. Don't over-explain yourself, like you're applying for a role. Don't get noisy. Stay calm, stay centered. This is where old Stoic wisdom pays off. Because the man who can receive a strong signal without losing his frame is the man she trusts, and trust is what attraction grows into when it's meant to last. Remember what Marcus Aurelius taught in Spirit. Your strength is in your control of yourself, not in your control of outcomes. And as Epictetus warned, if you want to be free, stop being a slave to other people's reactions. So when she gives you this line, you don't react like a man who needs it. You respond like a man who's used to being recognized. Your answer should be light, confident, and slightly playful because playfulness is not childish. It's social mastery. Say, I'll take that as a compliment and hold your eye contact. Then press gently. What exactly feels different? That one question is power because it guides her to name the reasons she's drawn to you. And when she puts those reasons into words, she's not just describing you. She's convincing herself. This is a quiet, psychological truth. What people verbalize, they reinforce. What they reinforce, they deepen. And you want depth, not temporary excitement. You want clarity, not confusion. You want a clean path forward, not a loop of mixed signals. That's why you lead her into specificity. Because specificity turns attraction into intention. And when she starts listing things, you actually listen. You're calm. You don't try too hard. You feel solid. Don't puff up and start performing. Just nod, smile, and own it with a grounded line. Like, I value that, or that's how I choose to live short firm. No theatrics. This is the posture of an iron mind, and women recognize it instantly because it's rare in a world full of men who talk big but fold under pressure in today's dating culture. Many men mistake attraction for a game of constant messaging, constant proving, constant entertaining. That's not strength. That's anxiety, dressed up as effort. You don't win with more words. You win with better energy. You win with steadiness. You win with self-respect. As Theodore Roosevelt put it, speak softly and carry a big stick. Not loud, not needy, not scattered, controlled, clear. And if you want a modern blueprint, here it is. Keep your life full. Your body trained, your finances disciplined, your friendships real, your schedule purposeful, because nothing builds attraction like a man who has direction. She doesn't want to be your entire world. She wants to be invited into a world that's already standing strong. That is stoicism. Win in action. You handle your business. You manage your emotions. You respect your time. You show up with calm confidence and listen closely. This line, "you're different," is often her way of saying she feels safer with you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. Consistency is the new luxury, especially in a world of flakiness. half promises, and endless options. So, your advice is simple when she says, "It don't fumble. It don't get cocky. Don't get insecure. Don't make it heavy. Keep it clean. Keep it masculine. Keep it forward. Ask the question that makes her clarify, then take action that matches her words. Set a real plan, a real date, a real time lead with certainty." That's how a man separates himself from the crowd. He doesn't just talk well. He moves well. He doesn't just sound confident. He behaves confident. And remember this. The goal isn't to trick her into liking you. The goal is to give her a clear experience of your standards, your calm, and your character. That's why old Stoic wisdom matters here, because the man who can stay centered in the moment is the man who can build something real over time. Be the man who listens without pretending. Be the man who jokes without seeking approval. Be the man who leads without forcing. Be the man who stays respectful without shrinking. That's your edge. That's your power. That's your iron mind. And if you want a sentence to carry with you, make it this. When she says, "You're different." Don't argue, don't apologize, don't overreact, confirm it, clarify it, and continue forward. That's how you build momentum. That's how you build connection. That's how you win with honor. That's stoicism. Win calm strength in a noisy world, decisive action in a confused world, and quiet certainty in a world that begs you to doubt yourself. 4. I feel like I can be myself around you. When a woman looks at you and says, "I feel like I can be myself around you," don't brush it off. Don't laugh it away. Don't underestimate it. That sentence carries more emotional weight than most compliments you will ever hear in your life. Men who understand female psychology. No, this is not casual talk. This is a signal, a quiet confession, a door cracking open to something deeper. What she is really saying is that around you, she does not feel the pressure to perform, impress, or protect herself. She does not feel like she has to edit her words, manage her emotions, or play a role that feels safer than the truth. In a world where most people walk around wearing masks without even realizing it, this kind of comfort is rare, powerful, and deeply attractive. Think about how people usually behave. We adjust ourselves constantly at work. We soften parts of our personality in public. We hide insecurities on dates. We often present a polished version that feels acceptable, not necessarily honest. That is human nature. So when a woman tells you she can be herself with you, she is telling you that her nervous system relaxes in your presence, that she does not feel judged, rushed, or evaluated. That matters more than looks, money, or clever lines. Psychology tricks often focus on tactics and shortcuts. But this moment is not about manipulation. It is about safety. And safety is the foundation of attraction that lasts in female psychology. Emotional safety is what allows desire to grow roots instead of fading after the excitement wears off. This is why psychologists talk about authenticity, bonding, the deep human need to connect with someone who allows us to exist as we truly are without fear of rejection. When she starts acting a little silly around you, when she shows you her strange humor, when she admits something she usually keeps hidden, when she laughs at herself, or shares a worry she does not post online, that is not randomness. That is trust unfolding in real time. Don't miss it. Don't rush it. Be present. Be steady. That is what she is responding to. You must understand that this is not about you being perfect. It is about you being grounded. It is about how you listen, how you react, and how you make space. If she says something awkward and you don't flinch, if she shares a fear and you don't minimize it, if she reveals a flaw and you don't try to fix her, you are silently telling her you're safe here. And safety creates attachment faster than any flashy move ever could. Many men sabotage this moment by overthinking it. They either downplay it, joke too hard, or immediately try to escalate things in a way that feels forced. Don't do that. Be calm, be warm, be real. If she tells you she can be herself around, you acknowledge it with confidence and kindness. Say something simple but sincere, like, "That means a lot to me," or "I'm glad you feel comfortable here." That is enough. You don't need a speech. You don't need to impress if she's being playful or goofy. Meet her there. Match her energy without mocking it. Let her see that you enjoy her real self. Not just the version she shows the world. That is how to fall in love. Begins in the real sense. Not with fireworks, but with ease. And here's the part. Most men don't realize once a woman experiences this level of comfort with you, it becomes emotionally addictive in the healthiest way. She starts associating you with peace, with relief, with home in female psychology. Emotions are tied strongly to memory. And if being around you feels like exhaling after holding her breath all day, she will crave that feeling again and again. That is why she will text you more. That is why she will linger longer in conversations. That is why she will open up even further. You don't need to push. You don't need to chase you. Must simply remain consistent. Don't suddenly change. Don't become distant. Don't turn it into a power game. Just be the same, calm, attentive presence she felt safe with in the first place. Psychology tricks fail when they ignore human nature, and human nature wants to be seen, accepted, and understood. This is also why this signal matters more than compliments about your looks or success. Anyone can admire from a distance. Very few people allow closeness. When she allows closeness, she is inviting you into her inner world, and that is a privilege. Treat it like one. Be respectful. Be playful when the moment calls for it, but never dismissive. Be attentive without being heavy. Be confident without being loud. That balance is what keeps attraction alive long term. Remember, how to fall in love is not about convincing someone to choose you. It is about creating a space where choosing you feels natural. And when a woman says she can be herself around you, she is already halfway there. The rest is about not getting in your own way. Don't overperform. Don't overanalyze. Don't turn connection into strategy. Let it breathe. Let it deepen. Because once a woman feels free to be her authentic self with you, once she feels accepted without conditions, she rarely wants to lose that bond. It becomes the standard she compares everything else to. And that is not something you force. That is something you earn quietly, consistently by being the kind of man who makes emotional safety feel effortless. That is the deeper truth behind psychology, tricks female psychology, and how to fall in love. And the men who understand this don't need to chase affection because it naturally stays close to them. If this opened your eyes, don't just watch and move on. Like the video, subscribe for more psychology tricks, and share it with a man who wants deeper, real connection. Most importantly, join the conversation below. Comment this sentence to lock the lesson in your mind and show you, understand what truly builds attraction. Emotional safety is the foundation of real attraction. 5. You make me feel seen and heard. When a woman looks at you and says, "You make me feel seen and heard," don't treat it like a polite thank you. Don't nod and move on. That sentence is not small. That sentence is loaded. It carries weight, meaning, and emotional truth. It tells you that you have done something. Most people in her life have not. You didn't just hear her words, you understood her, and understanding is rare. This is why you must never underestimate the power of that statement. When she says this, she is revealing that you see past the surface, past the small talk, past the everyday noise, and into who she really is. That is not accidental. That is not luck. That is presence. Women are emotional communicators by nature. That doesn't mean they are complicated. It means they are layered. They don't want to talk just to fill silence. They talk to connect. They want to feel that their thoughts matter, that their emotions land somewhere safe, and that their experiences are not dismissed, rushed, or minimized. Many men hear words and immediately jump into solutions. Don't do that. Be still. Be curious. Be engaged. Listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. Listening is choosing to enter her world without trying to control it. That is where trust begins. When a woman tells you a story about her past, she is not always asking you to fix it. She is asking you to witness it. She is asking you to see her, and when you listen without interrupting, when you ask thoughtful questions, when you remember small details. She mentioned days or weeks ago. Something powerful happens. She feels valued, she feels respected, she feels safe, and safety is attraction's quiet engine. This is not theory. A study published in Psychology Today found that emotional validation is one of the strongest factors in long-term attraction. That means the ability to acknowledge, understand, and respect someone's emotional experience is more powerful than charm status or clever lines. Think about how rare that is in everyday life. Most people are distracted. Most people are waiting to talk about themselves. Most people half listen while planning their next response. So when you are different, when you truly listen, it stands out. Maybe she mentions something personal in passing, a childhood memory, a fear, a dream she hasn't fully shared with anyone. You don't brush it off. You don't change the subject. You stay with it. You ask her how it made her feel. You let her finish her thought without rushing her later. Maybe days later, you bring it up naturally. You remember, you connect the dots. And that's when she looks at you differently and says, "You actually listen. You make me feel seen and heard." That moment matters. That moment creates emotional security. And emotional security is not forgotten easily. It lingers. It deepens. It changes how she experiences you in her mind. You are no longer just someone she talks to. You are someone who understands her, and that puts you in a different category altogether. This is where many men unknowingly step into the role of a high-value man, not because they are loud or flashy, but because they are grounded, attentive, and intentional. A high-value man doesn't compete for attention. He commands presence. He doesn't rush connection. He builds it. How you respond in this moment is crucial. Don't deflect the compliment. Don't joke it away. Don't act surprised. Acknowledge it with calm confidence. Say something like, "I think the best relationships are built on mutual understanding. I really value hearing your perspective." That response reinforces safety. It tells her that you are not listening to impress her. You are listening because you care, and care when expressed without neediness is magnetic. This is also where masculine energy shows up in its healthiest form. Masculine energy is not about control or intensity. It is about steadiness. It is about being present without being overwhelmed when you listen deeply and respond thoughtfully. You are leading the emotional space without dominating it. You are showing that you can hold space for her emotions without losing yourself. That balance is attractive. It signals maturity. It signals confidence. It signals that you are someone who can be trusted with her inner world. Many men believe that to attract women they need to talk more, impress more, or prove more. That belief is backwards. Often the fastest way to attract women is to listen better, to slow down, to be fully there. When you make a woman feel seen and heard, you are telling her without words, "You matter here." And people gravitate toward places where they matter. This is not manipulation. This is respect. This is emotional intelligence in action. Don't mistake this for passivity. Being attentive does not mean being passive. You can listen deeply and still lead. You can validate her feelings and still hold your boundaries. You can be warm and still grounded. That combination is powerful. It allows attraction to grow naturally instead of being forced. And when attraction grows naturally, it lasts. Remember this. People forget what you say. They forget what you do, but they never forget how you made them feel. When a woman feels seen and heard by you, she associates you with clarity, calm, and connection. She feels understood instead of overlooked. She feels valued instead of tolerated. And once she experiences that with you, it becomes the standard she compares others to. If you want to attract women who are emotionally available and genuinely interested, don't chase validation. Create understanding. Don't dominate conversations. Invite them. Be present. Be curious. Be consistent. That is how a high-value man moves. That is how masculine energy expresses itself without force. And that is how you attract women who are not just interested, but invested. So when she says, "You make me feel seen and heard," recognize it for what it is: a signal, a gift, a doorway. Don't rush past it. Step into it with intention. Reinforce it with your actions, because connection built on understanding is not easily replaced. And once you create that kind of bond, you won't need to convince her to stay. She will feel it for herself. 6. I feel a deep connection with you. When a woman looks at you and says, "I feel a deep connection with you," understand this clearly and without confusion. This is not casual interest, not polite affection, and not something she says lightly after a good conversation or a shared laugh. This is emotional investment taking root, and psychology confirms it. The word connection carries weight. It signals emotional resonance, the kind psychologists describe as a sense of safety, recognition, and meaning that feels rare in a distracted modern world where attention is fragmented and people skim the surface of one another's lives. This is the moment when attraction shifts from curiosity to attachment. She is no longer responding only to your looks or your lifestyle. She is responding to your presence, your steadiness, your masculine energy expressed through calm confidence and emotional clarity. A high value. Man understands this instinctively. He doesn't rush. He doesn't dismiss it. He doesn't joke it away. He recognizes that connection is built through consistency, listening, and emotional depth, not through chasing approval. When she says this, she is telling you that conversations with you stay with her. After they end, that your words echo in her mind, that she feels seen rather than evaluated. She may begin sharing stories from her childhood moments of uncertainty, quiet dreams she rarely voices. She remembers details. You forgot you mentioned. She brings up past conversations and tells you how much they mattered. This is emotional bonding, unfolding naturally. As Carl Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That transformation is what she is sensing. And here is the critical instruction most men miss: do not downplay it. Don't deflect. Don't minimize it out of fear of appearing vulnerable. That is not strength, that is avoidance. You must meet depth with depth. Calmly grounded, say something simple and direct, like, "I appreciate that. Real connection is rare, and I value what we're building." That response does not beg. It does not overpromise it, affirms without chasing it, reinforces safety. It strengthens attraction. This is old Stoic wisdom in action. The Stoics taught that mastery comes from alignment, not reaction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be steady, calm, and purposeful. When you respond with emotional steadiness, you signal iron mind. You show that you can hold space without losing yourself." That is what helps you attract women naturally, not through tactics but through grounded presence in modern life, where dating often feels transactional and rushed. This kind of emotional composure stands out powerfully. It separates the man who seeks validation from the man who leads his life with clarity. Stoicism. Win is not about emotional distance, it is about emotional discipline. When you acknowledge her words without exaggeration, you allow her feelings to grow organically. You give her permission to lean in further, and she will, because emotional safety is magnetic. A high-value man understands that connection is not something to exploit or fear, but something to steward. You don't rush to define the future. You don't interrogate her feelings. You stay present. You stay consistent. You stay centered. That centeredness is masculine energy at its finest, quiet, assured, unforced. As Epictetus said, first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Be the man who can receive emotional truth without flinching. Be the man whose calm makes others feel anchored. That is how attraction deepens. That is how trust forms. That is how relationships move from interest to meaning. In a world addicted to noise and novelty, connection feels revolutionary when she names it. She is inviting you into something real. Handle it with respect. Handle it with composure. Handle it like a man who has mastered himself. That is iron mind. That is stoicism win. And that is how you attract women who are not just interested, but emotionally invested. Because they sense that with you, depth is safe, presence is real, and connection is not taken lightly. If you've made it to this point, understand this emotional connection is power. Most men miss it, ignore it, or downplay it. And that's why they lose her. You recognize when a woman feels a deep connection, and you know how to honor it, reinforce it, and lead with confidence. Comment this below to lock it in and engage with the channel. I recognize deep connection, and I'm confident enough to build something real. Write it. This is how you separate yourself from the rest. 7. I can talk to you about anything. When a woman looks at you and says, I can talk to you about anything, don't brush it off as casual chatter. That sentence carries weight, real weight at first glance. It may sound similar to saying she feels close to you, but the psychology underneath is very different and far more powerful. Emotional connection is about feelings in the moment. Emotional compatibility is about safety over time. And that is the foundation of lasting attraction. When she says she can talk to you about anything, she is quietly revealing that her mind relaxes around you. Her guard lowers her thoughts. Feel welcome. She texts you out of nowhere. Not because she's bored, but because you feel like home in the middle of her day. She asks for your thoughts on decisions that matter. Not because she needs permission, but because your perspective carries emotional value. She opens up about her struggles, her doubts, her fears, without rehearsing or filtering, because she trusts that you will listen without judgment. That is not random. That is female psychology in action. Don't underestimate it. This is one of the clearest psychology tricks. Attraction gives away when conversation feels easy, love feels possible. Be calm about it. Don't rush. Don't overanalyze. Be present. The right response isn't pressure or performance. It's warmth with confidence, a playful smile, and a light. Even the weirdest things shows ease, then anchor the moment with meaning. Say, that's important to me. I believe real relationships are built on openness. That simple statement does two things at once. It reassures her emotional safety, and it positions you as someone who understands how to fall in love without forcing it. You must recognize this moment for what it is, an invitation into her inner world. Don't shut it down with jokes that deflect. Don't turn it into a debate. Be steady. Be emotionally available without oversharing. That balance is rare, and rarity creates attraction. This is where long-term desire begins, not in grand gestures, but in quiet conversations that stretch late into the night. Remember, female psychology responds deeply to men who listen with intention and speak with clarity. Use psychology tricks wisely, not to manipulate, but to understand. Understand that when she can talk to you about anything, she's already imagining what life could feel like with you in it. And that more than anything is how to fall in love, slowly, safely, and with meaning. Bonus. I miss you even when you haven't been gone long. Now, pause right there. Let that sentence land. If a woman says she misses you, even when you've barely been apart, this is not small talk. This is not filler. This is not something she says out of habit. This is huge. People don't miss just anyone missing. Someone means space has appeared, and that space feels uncomfortable. It means your presence has quietly become part of her emotional rhythm. Her day feels better when you're in it. Her thoughts circle back to you without effort when a woman says she misses you. What she's really saying is this: I feel emotionally connected to you, and your presence brings me comfort. That is not accidental. That is emotional gravity. Picture this: you spend a relaxed evening together. No drama, no pressure, just good energy. You go your separate ways. The next day, out of nowhere, your phone lights up. I miss you. She isn't bored. She isn't fishing. She's responding to absence. Your absence. That message means you linger. In her mind, in her emotions, in the quiet moments of her day, she's replaying how she felt around you, safe, understood, seen. That's the power of calm, masculine energy. Not loud, not forced, just steady. And this is where many men slip. Don't overreact. Don't interrogate it. Don't downplay it. Be grounded, be warm, be present. The best response is simple. That's sweet. I miss you too. Say it cleanly. Say it without fear. Say it without chasing. Because when you acknowledge her words without hesitation, you validate the emotional bridge she's building. You're meeting her halfway. You're showing that connection doesn't scare you. That is what a high-value man does. A high-value man doesn't rush emotions, but he doesn't run from them either. He understands that attraction grows in emotional safety. He knows how to attract women by being consistent, calm, and emotionally available without losing himself. This moment matters because it reveals something deeper. She's not just missing your company, she's missing how she feels when she's with you. That's the difference. Anyone can make a woman laugh. Anyone can impress for an hour. But making her miss you after you leave, that comes from presence, from listening, from being fully there when you're together. You must understand this. Emotional connection is built in the small moments, not grand gestures. A look held a second longer. A conversation that feels easy. Silence that doesn't feel awkward. That's masculine energy at its best. Calm, grounded, reassuring. And here's the truth. Many men need to hear. Don't use her words as leverage. Don't pull away to test her. Don't play games. Be steady. Be honest. Be clear. When you do that, you naturally attract women who want emotional closeness, not confusion. You become the man they think about when you're not there. You become the standard. So when she says, "I miss you," hear it for what it is. An invitation, a signal, a quiet confession, and answer it like a man who knows his worth, because a high-value man doesn't question connection. He allows it to grow. Hey, if you're still here until these final seconds, let me start by giving you a warm, friendly greeting that tells me you're serious, observant, and genuinely trying to understand emotions and signals in relationships. If you've made it this far, drop "I see the signs" in the comments below. It's a simple phrase, but it lets me know you're part of the real community, people who don't just watch for entertainment, but who are here to grow, learn, and become a better version of themselves. If you watch the entire video, comment, "I see the signs." That's how we recognize each other. The ones who take attraction, psychology, and relationships seriously on a deeper level without confusion or self-deception. If this video helped you see the signs more clearly, don't forget to hit the like button. It's a small action, but it makes a big difference in helping this content reach people who truly need it. Maybe someone who is just as confused as you once were. And if you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe right now. Here you'll get clear, practical insights every day about attraction, relationships, and self-mastery. No games, no illusions. One more important thing, share this video with a friend who might be struggling to read emotional signals. Sometimes the right video at the right moment can save someone from a lot of unnecessary pain before you go. Here's a sincere piece of advice. Don't rush to conclusions and don't lie to yourself. Watch actions, listen to words, and most importantly, trust your calm, grounded intuition. When you truly understand the signs, you stop chasing, overthinking, and guessing. We've already lined up the best next video for you on your screen right now. Go ahead and watch that one next, and I'll see you over there.